My girlfriend and I decided to make repairs. There was a mini flood in the kitchen, and the old linoleum was in disrepair. We decided to buy new linoleum and went to a French building supermarket. There was linoleum in the department, but only expensive. My girlfriend and I are not rich and did not want to spend a lot of money on repairs, so we asked the consultant where we could find a cheaper option. The consultant silently pointed to the discount department. In the corner of the department on the bottom shelf hung her. A thick beige beauty with a geometric triangle pattern and a nice touch of material. The price was so ridiculous that we immediately decided to take it and asked to cut off the amount we needed. It was a coincidence, but that's how much was in the roll. The first oddity awaited us at the supermarket. The barcode in the database didn't show the product. We were about to give up on the dream, but it turned out that the linoleum had arrived on a truck from out of state a few hours ago and just hadn't had time to enter it into the database. We never found the reason for the markdown. The consultant said something about a factory fire, although our roll was clearly intact. On the way home, the girl noted that the smell was a little strange, sweet and spicy. It was not the usual smell of burning, but rather the aroma of light oriental incense. The second oddity we noticed when we brought the roll home and started getting ready to replace it. Our cat looked at the linoleum strangely, poked it with her paw, and suddenly bounced back with a startled hiss and covered her ears. Apparently she didn't like the smell of it. We laughed at the unintelligent animal and got to work. By the end of the day, the kitchen looked great and the linoleum was perfect. My feet felt even nicer and warmer than on the tufted carpet. It wasn't very surprising because it was July outside, but the linoleum was warm, as if it had adjusted to our temperature. At night my girlfriend woke me up and whispered that we were in trouble. I didn't understand what it was at first, but then I heard it. There were measured slaps coming from the kitchen, similar to those you might hear in a swimming pool. Rare, but very distinct. There was also the creaking of wood. We live on the first floor, we don't close the windows, so I thought of a thief at night. I pulled myself together, grabbed a flashlight, and rushed resolutely into the kitchen. There was no one there, just a wind blowing and the drunks shouting outside the window. It was empty. I reached into the dresser drawer, took out a bottle of whiskey and drank one shot. The girl drank a second one. We went back to bed and fell safely asleep. The next morning we discovered a third strange thing. Our cat was missing somewhere. We looked for her all over the apartment, even in the entryway. We went all over the neighborhood and called for her for a long time, but there was no result. It was very sad, but the pity was mixed with a feeling of something alien and dangerous. Something that sent shivers and shivers down my spine. At night, after a stormy lovemaking session, I turned my back to the wall, but my girlfriend could not sleep. She was saying something, calmly, not anxiously, and I listened to her half-heartedly and fell asleep. The last thing I remember was her getting out of bed and going for a drink of water. I dreamed that I was walking down the hallway, and I saw a door with a rattling sound behind it, and a pale pink light coming through from underneath it. I reached for it, and it suddenly swung open. What was behind it was so horrible that I instantly woke up in a cold sweat. It was morning, the birds were singing, and the sun was shining outside the window. I rolled over onto my other side to hug my beloved. The bed was empty. All the girl's things were in place, her clothes hanging on hangers. My acquaintances were silent and said she could only have been at my house. We filed a police report, but the search was unsuccessful. I felt terrible. Every night I dreamt about that door, and I stopped eating properly and going to work. A week after my girlfriend disappeared, a strange smell began to be felt in the kitchen. It was the familiar, but heightened smell of linoleum with a hint of something nauseating. I thought of a garbage can, but it wasn't. Something reddish-brown was visible from under the edge of the linoleum. With trembling hands, I pulled the linoleum off and threw up. The entire floor under the linoleum was covered with a rotting, bloody mess. The worst thing was waiting for me on the back of the linoleum. There were the burned-out prints of 4 cats' paws and 2 women's feet.